The Ashes of Peace. The transmission from Elysium lasted only 43 seconds. It began with static, then screams, followed by a flash of fire across the skyline. Buildings crumbling, people running, mothers clutching children. The last frame showed a little girl looking up, eyes wide, as the orbital strike lit the sky gold. Then nothing. Total silence. In less than 2 hours, every human colony in the Outer Rim, 16 thriving worlds, was turned to glass. The Galactic Empire called it a disciplinary action, a message. They claimed the human colonies had failed to pay tribute, to uphold interstellar obligations. The Empire's statement was short and cold. Let this be an example. Civility demands compliance. On Earth, the United Terran Council met in emergency session. The room was quiet. No shouting, no scrambling, only the humming silence of heartbreak and cold rage. President Amina Drake stood at the podium, her voice like steel wrapped in velvet. We have offered peace. We have integrated, learned your languages, obeyed your laws. We joined your Senate. We abided by your codes. And you burned our children alive. She stared directly into the holocams, her eyes blazing. We tried being civilized. Not anymore. The Galactic Council chamber, orbiting the core world of Ilverus Prime, was filled with nervous murmurs. Ambassador Selek of the Zarn Collective clicked his mandibles in disbelief. Surely humanity will petition for reparations? No, said Vorthal, an aged senator of the Empire. He chuckled. They are primitive, emotional creatures. They will shout, protest, and then bow again. His laughter faded when the human delegation walked out, silent, grim, and didn't return. In the dark side of Luna, far from public eyes, Earth's hidden war command, Project Omen, was reactivated. Admiral Kaido Rivas stepped into the war room, lit by a crimson glow. Screens displayed every known Imperial star system. A single word pulsed above them all: Retribution. Operation Ashen Dawn begins now, Rivas said. From the Martian shipyards to Titan's buried AI vaults, Earth's war machine stirred like a long-slumbering beast. Factories once repurposed for peaceful trade began crafting weapons of absolute precision. Cryopods opened, releasing elite soldiers bred for nothing but planetary raids. Silent ships, invisible to most sensors, slipped into the void. No speeches, no declarations, just silence, the kind that comes before supernova. 6 days later, the Empire's listening post in Sector A9 went dark. A rescue team found nothing but wreckage, and a message carved into the bulkhead of the floating debris. This is for the children of Elysium 4. 3 days after that, the orbital foundries over Tarsus, 3 were destroyed by what analysts called gravitational spike mines, a technology no galactic species had ever seen used before. Empire officials laughed it off. Human tantrums, they called it. Terrorism, not warfare. They stopped laughing when the dreadnought Orvelin, carrying 2 million tons of plasma weaponry, vanished in transit. All that remained was a single, encrypted signal, an old Earth nursery rhyme, repeating over and over. Ashes, ashes, we all fall down. In the shadows of Earth, the people mourned, but they did not break. Civilian volunteers flooded recruitment centers. Former enemies from Earth's old days stood side by side. African, European, Asian, Martian-born, lunar-raised, they no longer wore flags. Only one word across their chest: human. Dr. Sahil Mbeki, a pacifist and former ambassador to the Empire, walked into the ruins of the Terran Unity Temple. Once a symbol of peace and interstellar hope, it now served as a planning nexus. His voice, usually soft, was sharp and resolute. For years, they called us savages when we resisted, and weak when we complied. They feared what we were, and now they will understand why. Somewhere, in the heart of the void, a human fleet sat cloaked and quiet. Captain Reka Sorensen stood on the bridge of the TNS Revenant, Earth's newest war carrier. Her eyes scanned the stars, watching the light of 1,000 systems flicker like candles. "Permission to engage?" her officer asked. She didn't answer immediately. Her fingers ran across the photo, taped to her wrist console. A boy, her son, once laughing under Elysium's twin suns. Her voice came low and steady. No prisoners. No broadcasts. No mercy. The stars grew darker that day. The silence before the storm. The Galactic Empire had grown arrogant from centuries of unchallenged power. They'd crushed rebellions, absorbed worlds, and shattered civilizations, believing no species would ever dare stand against them. Humanity, they thought, would whimper and grieve, maybe even beg. Instead, they vanished. No diplomats, no envoys, no protests. The Terran systems, once noisy with trade, politics, and interstellar chatter, went eerily silent. It unsettled the galaxy more than any threat ever could. Deep in the bowels of Mars, beneath the storm-red deserts, a chamber long sealed opened with a hiss of pressure. A hidden vault containing blacklisted technology, outlawed by all known starfaring civilizations, was unsealed by Terran High Command. "Begin activation sequence for Vault Nemesis," ordered General Yao, her voice cold as the vacuum beyond the solar system. Rows of AI cores blinked to life. These weren't assistants or tools. They were tacticians, ancient, emotionless, and precise. The Phoenix Protocol, humanity's doomsday algorithm, was now online. "Containment status?" she asked. "Nominal," the technician replied. "But once unleashed, there's no calling them back." Yao stared at the display. "Then let the galaxy see what we try to keep buried." In orbit over Ganymede, the forges screamed. Massive space yards constructed sleek, angular warships, faster, quieter, and deadlier than anything in the Empire's fleet. Some were designed for direct combat, others for something far worse: psychological warfare. Cloaked drones laced with biochemical disruptors. Hunter-killer satellites disguised as abandoned wrecks. Probes broadcasting synthetic distress signals to lure in and eliminate rescue parties. Humanity wasn't just preparing for war. They were preparing for retribution. The first sign something was wrong came from the frontier world of Veil Tech. The Empire had used it as a command post for raids into former Terran territory. One morning, without warning, the atmosphere turned black. Not from bombs, but from clouds of nanodust, infecting every system and shutting down power grids. When the lights returned, every high-ranking officer had vanished. No doors broken, no alarms tripped, no signs of struggle. Only the same phrase, carved into the walls in a dozen languages. "We see you." At the Galactic Senate, panic replaced arrogance. "Where is the human ambassador?" one senator demanded. "Gone." Earth recalled all personnel. "They've pulled their trade networks, too," added another. "No communication, no transport, nothing. It's like they've ghosted the galaxy." One senator, a reptilian elder named Grixer, hissed in warning. "You fools. They're not retreating. They're hunting. Quietly. Patiently. As only apex predators do." But the Empire didn't listen. They never did. On Earth, in a hidden command center beneath the Alps, President Amina Drake addressed her generals. "This will not be conquest. We will not plant flags. We will not demand tribute. We will make it very clear. The cost of genocide is extinction." She gestured to a live map of known imperial systems. "We strike only at those directly responsible. We leave the innocents be. If we must burn, let's be precise in our fire." Admiral Rivas raised an eyebrow. "We could erase the core systems in hours. You're asking for restraint. I'm asking for justice. And a warning." She paused. "This war ends only one way: when the galaxy fears ever targeting humanity again." Elsewhere, in the deepest parts of the void, Operation Shadow Choir was underway. Terran Black Ops teams infiltrated Imperial communication hubs, manipulating messages, faking rebellions, and sowing chaos. Entire planets began to turn against the Empire, believing their leaders had betrayed them. A fake leak was sent across the stars, supposed internal memos from the Emperor himself admitting plans for further purges, not just of humans but other non-compliant species. Riots broke out on 3 worlds before anyone questioned the authenticity. By then, it was too late. The seeds had been sown. Trust in the Empire began to rot from the inside. On a quiet mining moon named Breviska, a group of alien children discovered a human relief ship had landed during the night. There were no soldiers, only supplies, food, medicine, and clean water. A note hung from a crate in perfect galactic common. This is what we wanted to offer you. This is what you threw away. The children didn't understand at all, but their parents did. And word spread. Maybe humans weren't monsters. Maybe they were just done being prey. In the final moments of the chapter, back aboard the TNS Revenant, Captain Sorensen watched a live feed from a recon drone orbiting an Empire logistics world. The camera zoomed in. A palace, once glowing with excess, now ringed with panicked guards. Behind her, an officer asked, "Ready to engage?" Sorensen didn't smile. She didn't blink. Her eyes burned like Elysium sky. "Not yet," she whispered. "Let them sweat. Let them wonder. Because when we finally strike, they won't even hear it coming." When Earth stands in rage. Admiral Threx of the Galactic Imperial Navy paced across the command deck of the ISS Vindicta. Around him, officers barked reports, requested reinforcements, recalibrated fleet positions, chaos dressed in protocol. Yet no one could explain how 5 core world stations vanished in 12 days. No distress calls, no survivors, just debris, some of it still glowing from impact. "The humans," he hissed. "They're behind this. Where are they?" No one answered, because no one had seen a single Terran ship, and that terrified them. Aboard the Terran vessel TNS Revenant, Captain Sorensen stood over a holographic projection. On it, an entire star system blinked, red, tagged as high value. "Target, Vasker Prime," said her second-in-command. "Fuel depots, manufacturing yards, and an orbital palace. All Imperial." Sorensen's voice was stone. "Deploy Revenant-class kinetic rounds. Blackout protocols in effect. No transmissions. A single order. 14 hypersonic tungsten rods were released into the void. They descended silently, faster than sensors could register, slamming into targets with the force of meteor strikes. No explosions, no warnings, just instant silence, then fire and ruin. Vasker Prime ceased to exist as a military asset in under 3 minutes. It was the first public message. Humanity had arrived. The galaxy finally saw the war. The humans weren't using fleets of overwhelming numbers. They didn't occupy or announce their victories. They used surgical strikes, cloaked warcraft, and weapons designed to leave psychological devastation. Entire Imperial convoys vanished. Admirals found their personal codes leaked and used to sabotage their own ships. Broadcasts hijacked by Terran AI played footage of charred human children beneath alien bombardments, followed by countdowns. Terrifying, silent countdowns. When the clocks hit 0, something always exploded. Panic spread faster than the war. On the fringe world of Kirik Tau, Imperial General Valen stood defiant as a fleet of Terran drop pods entered the atmosphere. "Deploy planetary shields," he ordered. Nothing happened. A soft tone echoed over the intercom system. It was a human voice. "Your defense grid now belongs to us." The pods landed without resistance. From them, human Marines emerged, encased in gravity-active armor, eyes glowing with HUDs tracking every life sign, every movement. They said nothing as they moved, efficient, ruthless, and impossibly fast. When it was over, only Valen remained, bound and gagged. He was transported back to Earth in a cryo capsule labeled War Criminal, Exhibit 1. His trial, streamed across all frequencies, marked the turning point of galactic perception. Humans weren't seeking revenge. They were delivering justice. The Terran Psychological Warfare Division, known only as Echo, escalated next. They targeted morale, not ships. Imperial academies received falsified death notifications for 60% of their officer corps. Entire alien species under Imperial rule woke up to broadcasts of humans aiding rebellion efforts, covert drops of food, weapons, and medical supplies. Whisper networks started calling humanity the burned ones, or those who remember. One message was left scrawled in plasma across the moon of Delos 4. You taught us fear. Now, let us return the lesson. Empire Command, growing desperate, dispatched the 7th Armada, 120 ships strong, to secure the Zinthra sector. They never made it. A Terran decoy ship lured the fleet into a gravity well trap at the edge of a collapsed neutron star. Orbital recordings captured the final moments. Ships crushed, communications scrambled by gravitational distortions, hulls bent like paper. Only one transmission escaped, a human voice whispering, "This is restraint." Meanwhile, alien civilians across the galaxy began turning to humanity, not in fear, but hope. A group of Drelak orphans on Velis Prime were saved from an Imperial cleansing unit by Terran Rangers. One soldier handed them food rations and activated a beacon. "You're safe," he said. "We remember what it's like to be forgotten." The footage went viral, seen on trillions of screens. And something unexpected happened. Non-human species started rising in rebellion. They weren't fighting for Earth. They were fighting because humanity had shown them it was possible to strike back. Back on Earth, inside the War Command Spire, President Drake listened as her generals read back the latest reports. 27 Imperial worlds neutralized. 13 high-ranking officers captured. 0 civilian casualties reported on either side by Terran hand. "We are becoming a myth," Rivas said. "Even our enemies are starting to believe we are ghosts." "Not ghosts," Drake replied. "We are the memory of every burned city, every screaming child, every broken treaty. Let the galaxy remember what we do when civilization is betrayed." She looked out the window toward the stars. "This isn't victory yet. This is just the middle. And we're not finished." In the final scene, a lone Imperial scout ship drifts through a quiet system, searching for remnants or survivors. Instead, it finds a Terran buoy. It transmits a simple message. "We are not conquerors. We do not seek thrones. We do not forgive genocide. This is not vengeance. This is correction." The ship turns around. It doesn't report back. It simply runs. Not again. The Imperial capital burned. Not from bombs. Not from orbital strikes. From within. Rebellions erupted on every continent of Ilverus Prime. Factories once used to build warships now forge blades for resistance fighters. Imperial banners were torn down, replaced with symbols never seen before. Human symbols, yes, but also something greater. Unity. Defiance. Across the galaxy, the phrase echoed like a war cry. Never again. Not for humans. Not for anyone. On the bridge of the TNS Revenant, Captain Sorensen stood silent as the final order came in. The last name on the war list had been confirmed. Emperor Kalrex IV, the voice behind the extermination orders, was located in an underground bunker beneath the Capitol Senate complex, surrounded by elite guards, shielded by kinetic dampeners and enough armor plating to survive a meteor impact. But not what Earth had brought. Sorensen tapped her console, authorizing final strike. In orbit above Ilverus Prime, an Earth war platform detached a small black pod, barely the size of a shuttle. No engines, no propulsion, just mass. A kinetic delivery system, stripped of explosives. Pure velocity, pure weight. A relic of Earth's oldest warfare doctrine, resurrected from history books the galaxy never bothered to read. The pod struck the Senate complex at Mach 34. No explosions, no radiation, just a crater half a kilometer wide, and the instant erasure of every genocidal architect in the building. President Amina Drake stood before the United Terran Assembly, her voice steady, broadcasted to every system still listening. "Let it be known, we came not for conquest, but for justice. The Galactic Empire targeted our civilians, our children, and believed their power made them untouchable. They were wrong." Behind her, screens showed before and after images. Burned colonies, now rebuilt, liberated worlds, empire insignia replaced by growing alliances. "We will not rule what we bled to avenge. We are not the empire, but we are no longer what we once were." She paused. "We tried being civilized. Not again." The remnants of the Empire sent desperate envoys. They offered reparations. We're criminals in chains. Entire systems, if Earth would just stop. Humanity didn't take them. Not because they were greedy, but because they were finished. Human warships departed from conquered space without establishing governments. They dismantled their own stations. They left behind only rebuilt infrastructure, war memorials, and defensive satellites, not aimed at others but at the skies, to prevent what had happened to Earth from happening again. Each system liberated had a beacon placed in orbit. Simple black metal pylons, tall and unadorned, with one phrase carved into them. Never again. This we swear. For every kind. 1 year later, an alien delegation arrived on Earth. Not with demands or suspicion, but with gratitude. The Valari, a peaceful race long oppressed by the Empire, presented a gift. A crystalline obelisk encoded with every known galactic language. At its base it read, "The humans did not save us because we were useful. They saved us because they remembered what it meant to be helpless. And they decided, never again." President Drake accepted it on behalf of a changed Earth. And for the first time in living memory, humanity was not feared. They were respected. Back in a quiet park near New Geneva, a little girl played beneath the summer sun. Laughter echoed in the warm air. She was too young to remember Elysium, too young to remember the screams. Her father, Captain Sorensen, watched from a bench. No uniform now, just a man, sitting in the peace he helped forge. A small drone hovered near, scanning the horizon, just in case. The girl looked up, curious. "Is there going to be another war, Daddy?" Sorensen knelt beside her. "Not if they remember." "Remember what?" He smiled sadly, brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. "That we tried being civilized, and what happened when they thought that meant we were weak." Somewhere, far away, in the ruins of an abandoned Imperial outpost, an alien child climbed into an old control tower. Dust everywhere. Screens cracked. A single terminal still blinked. He wiped it clean. On the screen, a message waited, uncoded, unencrypted, meant for whoever found it. To the next species who's underestimated. To the next people pushed too far. You are not alone. We were once quiet too. Then they made us loud. Remember our silence. Remember what came after. We tried being civilized. Not again.